All right, folks, when you turn the light on, the bugs scatter. Well, there's been a very, very bright light shined on a guy named Jeffrey Epstein. And according to some, we're about to see a lot of bugs begin to scatter for cover. My name's Howard Real, and this is Real Truth. Here's a piece from the End of the American Dream blog. I'm quoting. Are we about to see some of the biggest names from Hollywood, Wall Street, and Washington actually go to prison? As I discussed in the first part of the series, the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein has the potential to erupt into the biggest scandal America's ever seen. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York intends to put Epstein away for the rest of his life, and the only hope Epstein has of ever tasting freedom again is to cooperate with the prosecutors. That would mean giving up everything that he knows about all his famous friends, and the end result would be a big name after big name going to prison. For years, Epstein hosted wild parties at his homes all over the world where his famous guests would have sex with underage girls. For years, Epstein would fly his famous friends on his private plane to his very secluded private island, where his famous friends would have sex with underage girls without having to worry that they would be caught. And according to the Miami Herald investigative reporter Julie Brown, sometimes Epstein's famous friends would call him up and let him know what hotel they were staying at so he could send a girl over. Unquote. My friends, the first thing that happens these days, the political climate being what it is, the first thing that happens when any news breaks is that somebody in the media says, well, what about Trump? The Southern District of New York is famous for extreme liberal bent, its extreme liberal agenda. They have been trying to nail Trump unsuccessfully ever since he started running for office, and I guarantee they're going to pressure this guy Epstein to say what they want him to say, which is that Trump had something to do with this whole mess. I don't believe that for a split second. Trump has said, and other people have verified, that 15 years ago, this guy Epstein used to go to Mar-a-Lago, that's Trump's resort in Florida, and Trump threw him out and has never allowed him back. However, I've also read extensively in the news about a guy named Bill Clinton being close friends with Jeff Epstein. Now that looks like something to me that should be investigated thoroughly. So keep your eyes open. Because I've been reading and seeing for a long time, I'm doing the show almost 11 years, about an international human trafficking, human smuggling ring among the elites, the powerful, the rich. And this would appear, at least to an outsider like me, to be something like the epicenter of it. Maybe we're really getting at it, and we're going to be able to smash it and save a whole bunch of innocent children. Wouldn't that be nice? Keep your eyes peeled and watch. You wait for the media and for the Southern District of New York. You wait for them to try and make the case that somehow the president took time off from colluding with Vladimir Putin in order to cavort with Jeff Epstein. Item from CNSnews.com. For the first time in our nation's history, there is now a federal department spending an average of more than $100 billion per month. No, it's not the Department of Defense, which is charged with the core federal responsibility of defending us from foreign enemies. It's the Department of Health and Human Services, which, if Democrat Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont has his way, will run the Medicare for All program. Unquote. Folks, boil it down. Too many Americans getting free stuff, free rides through life. Didn't used to be this way, and yet somehow America survived and its people flourished. We have gotten so used to giving handouts. The Democrats have gotten so used to buying votes with free stuff that it turns out it's an anchor that's sinking this ship rapidly. Item from NBC News, Dateline, D.C. The poor treatment of migrant children at the hands of U.S. border agents in recent months extends beyond Texas to include allegations of sexual assault and retaliation for protests, according to dozens of accounts by children held in Arizona, collected by government case managers and obtained by NBC News. A 16-year-old Guatemalan boy held in Yuma, Arizona, said he and others in his cell complained about the taste of the water and food they were given. The Customs and Border Protection agents took the mats out of their cells in retaliation, forcing them to sleep on hard concrete. Unquote. Well, folks, they were not forced to sleep on hard concrete. In fact, they weren't forced to come to this country at all. They could have stayed home and eaten all the delicious food they wanted and slept on whatever they have at home. You know, there's a word in Hebrew, chutzpah. Chutzpah, nerve, gall. And it's chutzpahdik in the extreme for people to come here illegally, break our laws, endanger our citizens. They get taken into custody by the U.S. government. They get fed. They get their medical taken care of. They're given a place to sleep. And they're still complaining. Well, folks, if being in America is so distasteful, drag your sorry ass out of America. And don't be so quick to break another country's laws, because in Mexico, if you enter illegally, you go to jail for years, period, end of sentence. Item from The Guardian, a Colombian bishop is planning to exorcise an entire city this weekend, sprinkling holy water from a helicopter. Monsignor Ruben Dario Jaramillo Montoya, the Bishop of Buenaventura, will say a prayer intended to purge the area of demonic infestation. He said, quote, "We have to drive the devil out of Buenaventura to see if we can restore the peace and tranquility our city has lost due to so many crimes, acts of corruption, with so much evil and drug trafficking that invades our port," unquote. Gee, let me suggest something. When it comes to crime and corruption and drug trafficking, do you think maybe, possibly, it's not demons, but a crappy culture, a third world culture, uneducated people, no real morals or ethics? You think that might have some small part to play in the equation? Instead of a priest going up in a helicopter and sprinkling holy water, maybe they should take some criminals up in a helicopter and push them out. Then you'd see crime go down, even as the criminals themselves went down. It's Real Truth. It's Wednesday. We'll be right back. All right, guys. Howard Real, Real Truth, author, by the way, since you're asking, of Real Truth Stay Angry. You can get it online. Go to virtualbookworm.com. That's the best place to get it. Read it, and then call the show and tell me what you thought about it. We had one guy drop out of the Democrat race, that guy Swalwell, who I've described accurately as a real nose-picking nitwit. And then we had this other guy, Tom Steyer, join the race. He's another yutz. All in all, the 2020 field of potential nominees for the Democrat Party is a collection of loose nuts. Nobody's got a good idea. They're all for free medical care for illegals. In fact, CNN, I just read this item before, CNN has come up with a genius idea. They don't want the Democrats to look like the idiots that they are. So in the future, they're not going to ask for any more hand-raising, and you're not going to ask any more hand-raising questions. You remember they said, who wants to provide illegal aliens with free health care? All the hands went up. And the New York Post put that photograph on its front page with the headline, who wants to lose the election? And there they all are with their hands up because they're all dummies. So rather than do what a news organization does, is ask the hard questions and figure out what the candidates, where they stand on issues, they're going to paper over that. No more questions that will embarrass the Democrat candidates, because even CNN could see there are a bunch of momos up on that stage. Now, here is Rudy Giuliani talking to Fox News' Laura Ingraham about these 2020 rivals, this Confederacy of Dunces. Let's hear the former mayor of New York and Donald Trump's personal attorney weigh in on the Democrats who have a pipe dream about being president. Folks, Rudy Giuliani is laughing on this video as he's being asked by Laura Ingraham, are there any Democrat candidates who are scaring the president? And Rudy Giuliani is laughing because he knows that no one on the Democrat side has 1/10 of the IQ of Donald Trump, and no one on the Democrat side could accomplish 1/10 in 8 years of what Donald Trump accomplished in just 2 years, now headed for his 3-year mark. Here's Rudy Giuliani.
Not shaking at all about Kamala Harris or any of them. I mean, the president realizes there's going to be a candidate. We don't know who it is. And they're going to have to make all these crazy charges. But I think he's pretty comfortable, and I am certainly, with the fact that they've all gone so far to the left. I mean, Kamala Harris is in favor of open borders. I don't know what kind of prosecutor she is, but she's in favor of open borders. If you're in favor of open borders, you must be in favor of open doors in your house. Let everybody in. Let's not find out who they are or identify themselves. I mean, she's in favor of late-term abortion. Late-term meaning the day before the baby is born. We can go on and on and on. High taxes. She does a little better job than some of them, like Warren and Bernie, of disguising herself as not quite as left-wing. But when you examine her positions, she's very, very left-wing. And I think she's the flavor of the month because Joe couldn't defend himself. It was kind of pathetic. I mean, she eviscerated him, and I thought it wasn't with very much. And I think we got a very, very big signal from Michelle. That was definitely calculated. You saw that. I mean, you pointed it out beautifully, but Michelle's a very smart woman, whatever else she is.
Yeah, I mean, Rudy, she could have said, I'm not taking sides here in the presidential contest, but we know Joe Biden very well. Joe and Jill were really close to us. We served with him for 8 years. Not a racist bone in his body.
Yeah, that's easy to say. Isn't that easy to say?
And she went out of her, I think she went out of her way, both of them, not to say that. I mean, you don't hear peep out of Barack Obama unless it's some side swipe at Trump without really mentioning him by name. But I found that to be, also I kind of found that to be graceless on the part of the Obama.
Yeah, at a bare minimum, Biden is entitled to, he's not a racist. And also he's not. Look, I have a lot of issues with Biden, including what appears to be a lot of corruption in China and Ukraine. You know, hundreds of millions one place, billions other place.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Rudy, if you'll excuse me. Folks, you don't want people to think you're stupid, right? When you talk about politics, especially with 2020 coming up, you want to be informed. Okay, excellent. Punch in the name Biden and China, uh, Biden's son and China, and begin to get familiar with the absolute stink coming off that scandal. Billions of dollars involved with Joe Biden's son when Joe Biden was the vice president. And you read about it for yourself. And before you vote for any Democrat, make sure you do all your homework. Let's go back to the mayor.
Negotiating for America is
Yeah, Obama's not running and Michelle's not running. Who else on that stage is smart, Rudy? Joe has been self imploding for 40 years. You can go back 4 decades and listen to all the times that this jackass put his foot in his mouth. And no, he's not very bright at all.
Spoke out tonight, and
What he's too nice to say, but I will say, is that Joe Biden is a pathetic schmuck who's only gotten this far in government service. He's never held a private sector job because he's part of the hum. He's one of the elites. He's part of the boys club. Well, he's about to have his ass kicked out of the boys club.
too, because I think we just.
Well, he's a real close friend of Bill Clinton. Went all over with him. The question is, all over who? No, no, but how could you suggest, how could you even think Bill Clinton would be involved in anything? Ask Monica Lewinsky if Bill Clinton is involved in anything. Ask all the women that Bill Clinton laid on top of and pawed and groped and bit and maybe did worse. Ask them if Bill Clinton could possibly, conceivably ever be involved in anything that wasn't 100% pure as the driven snow.
I can't imagine.
What a pig Nancy Pelosi is, and I say that without hesitation. You know, she's got nothing positive, nothing constructive to offer America, and so she's back to the same old trope. Donald Trump is a racist, right? And if you voted for Trump, you're also a racist. And if you're not speaking out against Trump, it must be because you're a racist. Folks, it just gets tired after a while. Enough is enough. Wanting to know who's here in the United States who is and is not a citizen is a valid thing to want to know. It's been on the census forms in past years. Nothing racist about it at all. All there is a tired, mean spirited old politician named Nancy Pelosi whose time is up. She knows her time is up. She's got nothing to offer the American people. And so she's going to spray vitriol all over the place before she goes. She needs to be put out to pasture.
It's really disgraceful, and it's not what our founders.
No, Nancy, you are really disgraceful. And if we could somehow take you back in time to meet the founders and we told them all about you, they would slap you in the face for what you've done to this great country.
Had in mind.
Why did she say it? What the hell else does she have to say? She can't say, here's my strategy, it'll make America better. She's got nothing. She can't say, we want to cut your taxes because the Democrats want to raise your taxes. She can't say we'll make America safer because she wants the borders down and no more ICE agents. Nancy Pelosi has nothing to say but hate. She's a dinosaur. She needs to be retired. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to Real Truth. Howard Real behind the microphone. That's right, author of Real Truth, Stay Angry. Get your copy and then call and tell me what you thought about it. I have to believe you will be blown away by the revelations inside it. Kellyanne Conway was on Fox and Friends yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was this morning. She's talking about, again, the census. Idiots like Nancy Pelosi think you're a racist if you want to know whether the people filling out the census are citizens or not. I think it just makes good old common sense. Here's Fox and Friends' Kellyanne Conway. Folks, are you getting the hypocrisy here that Kellyanne Conway is very correctly pointing out? The Democrats get in front of you on television and say, we care about the people coming across the border. We want to help them. This is a humanitarian crisis. And then they vote against the money to help those people. $4.6 billion, which, by the way, I would not have spent to help these people. If they're going to come here, break our laws, jam their way into our country, and then be uncomfortable, well, that sucks. But that's not my problem. That's their problem. A lot of times you'll notice in life when you break the law, bad things happen, right? When you try and take things that don't belong to you, bad things happen, right? So as far as I'm concerned, it was a wasted $4.6 billion, but the hypocrisy of the Democrats is screeching. They'll tell you that the Republicans are cold-hearted and racist and haters, but the Republicans voted for this package. The Democrats, not one Democrat voted for it. How the hell does that happen at the same time the Democrats are making the case that they are the compassionate ones?
And you mentioned screaming rhetoric.
What's disgraceful is the fact that Nancy Pelosi is an animal who will say and do anything, and that there are Americans profoundly stupid enough to vote for her. She makes another good point. Nancy Pelosi, instead of being out there on the national stage saying stupid things and wanting stupid things for America, why doesn't she go home to her home district and look at, as Kellyanne Conway just said, the homeless people squatting and pooping in the streets, the syringes, the drug use, the homelessness? Do you think maybe Nancy Pelosi might serve the people who voted for her? Then again, San Francisco, you've got almost a record number of brain-dead voters, and maybe they deserve a Nancy Pelosi who doesn't care at all about them, but cares about herself. Isn't that what liberal California and San Francisco specifically, isn't that what it's all about? Me to the exclusion of everything else, to the exclusion of common sense and logic. It's just about me. That's California. That's Nancy Pelosi, and that's disgusting. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more Real Truth. My friends, I have spoken for a long time, but recently on this show about the war against boys in America. And if you think it doesn't exist, you haven't been researching it at all. The absence of fathers, radical feminism, and identity politics are hurting American boys. Now, here's a Dr. Warren Farrell. He appears on this video from American thought leaders on the Epic Times radio network about the war on boys and the absence of fathers in the family unit. It's absolutely enlightening. Let's listen.
What exactly is
Guys, here's the bottom line because we're about to go to commercial. Boys are under attack on a variety of fronts in America these days, and it stinks. Let boys be boys, let men be men. I know that's kind of an outmoded, unchic outlook these days, but it's how human beings operate, so we probably should stick to it. We'll take a break, we'll come back, we'll finish things up here on Real Truth. Go nowhere.
Before hiring a realtor from a big corporation who outsources their job and pays little to no taxes, ask yourself, what do you want from a realtor? You need a realtor who's honest and has integrity. A realtor who's focused on the client's bottom line, not the realtor's bottom line. It provides personal, over-the-top service before, during, and after the transaction. You want a realtor that knows how to market your property. Hi, I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham and Associates LLC. I am your Colorado real estate specialist. Land deals, mountain cabins, or urban dwellings, I've got you covered. For the first-time home buyer, we will make it the best experience. If you are looking to move up or downsizing, we will do better than your last transaction. Call me today at 720-203-0731 or visit coloradoproperties.online. Let me do a great job for you. Grandpa's Pawn and Gun, something all in the Front Range, Colorado, in 1994. We specialize in guns and currently have 400 guns for sale. Also, sell, pawn, and trade for gold, silver, music equipment, riding, archery equipment, quads, side-by-side, coins, and a lot more. We buy gun collecting and do a business, which is smart for insurance purposes, should it matter to us. We are employing ATM, Colorado, certified flying gun dealer, and because we have a lot lower overhead than the big box stores, we can beat the big box stores by as much as $100 per gun. And we have the lowest interest rates in Northern Colorado, half of what the corporate stores charge the bigger they are. Come and see us at Grandpa's Pawn and Gun. If you love guns, if you love gold, check us out on the web, www.grandpaspawn.com or 303-772-7952.
All right, guys, we've got 4 minutes left. Let's use them. Item from the New York Post. The wild child niece of former Veep Joe Biden stole more than $100,000 in a credit card scam and quietly cut a plea deal in Manhattan court that spares her any jail time, the Post has learned. Caroline Biden, Joe Biden's niece, left court after pleading guilty to larceny charges. Using a borrowed credit card, the blonde Caroline Biden set up an unauthorized customer account at Bigelow Pharmacy on 6th Avenue in Greenwich Village and racked up the six-figure bill over the course of a year, according to a criminal complaint that does not name the victim card owner. Unquote. My friends, the more I hear the name Biden, the stronger the stench gets. Item from Breitbart. Administrators at UC Berkeley published a message of support for illegal alien students at the end of June. UC Berkeley published a statement on June 26th, reaffirms their commitment to the university's undocumented population. In the statement, UC Berkeley Public Affairs warned students about potential campus visits by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE officers. My friends, could Berkeley be any more un-American? When people like Ann Coulter, Ben Shapiro, or others have gone there to speak, they've been threatened with violence and their speaking was shut down. Now they are standing squarely behind criminals who break America's laws and refuse to fess up to their crimes. I say UC Berkeley is anti-American, so why on earth would you ever send your children there? Item from Breitbart. CNN released the outline for the second round. Covered that already. Breitbart. The majority of Hispanic and Black Americans support President Trump's effort to ask all respondents on the 2020 census whether or not they're American citizens, a new poll finds. The latest Harvard-Harris poll reveals a majority of 5 in 9 Hispanic voters, or 55%, and nearly 6 in 10 black American voters, about 59%, said yes, they support a question on the upcoming census that would ask U.S. residents whether or not they're American citizens. Well, hang on a second. I thought Nancy Pelosi just said that this is racist. Well, then how do you have a majority of Hispanics and a majority of blacks saying yes, they want the question on the census form? Are you telling me, Nancy, I'm over here. Stop dribbling. Are you telling me that black Americans are racist against blacks and Latino Americans are racist against Latinos? That's brainless and out of this world, even more than what Nancy Pelosi generally says. I told you before, here's the answer. She will say and do anything that she thinks will make people vote for her and her party. Even absolute garbage. All law-abiding citizens, no matter what their color, their ethnicity, they want the laws of this country followed. If you can't agree on that, then you can't agree on anything. And if you don't think the laws of the United States should be followed, I invite you to find another country whose laws you think should be followed and get thyself there. All right. End of harangue. I will be back tomorrow. You know that. I always show up. I'll be back tomorrow for more Real Truth. We will ring out the week. And don't forget, Real Truth, Stay Angry, monumental book which takes us back in time to show us how America got to be ruled by the people who rule it and what we need to do about it today. It is absolutely essential reading. I will see you tomorrow. Hasta luego.